So, topic for the day: what is and what is not allowed in a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k, which they are a lot less common since so many people that own a company don't jump right into them. But there are only a very handful of things that the IRS really doesn't want you investing in with that money. Interestingly enough, you'll hear a lot of self-directed administrators talk about checkbook control, and I've seen some different strategies. And one of the things I learned recently is that if you have a transaction with that non-authorized party, we'll get into that a little bit later, with a non-authorized or a prohibited individual, that whole thing is going to blow up in your face, and basically they cash the whole thing out. And that's why some administrators don't want to give you that checkbook control. One of the things I learned that they will do is, say you have that checkbook control, but it's not you, it's another party that's cutting the checks that isn't a prohibited individual, okay? Your prohibited individual, I guess, would be your, it goes in a vertical line of heredity. So your father, your wife, definitely, well, okay, not definitely, I'm pretty sure that your wife is prohibited, but your brother's not. This is what I could never figure out, right? Your children, those are prohibited individuals. I think grandchildren are as well, I'm not exactly sure. But basically, it's anything in a line up and down. They figure your brother would get your money, but maybe your wife wouldn't. Well, I'm going to leave that up to who would make that decision to decide. But just as in any company, you have a financial officer, you have a risk officer, you have an operations officer. You can, if you set your self-directed IRA up around a C Corp or an LLC, then you can appoint such a person in these cases where the administrator does not want to give you checkbook control. You can appoint such a person up as the financial officer who will sign the checks. Then you won't wind up you will wind up with a little more protection. You're not quite as exposed. They're cutting the checks. You've got a second pair of eyes on it, to say the least. So, worst case scenario, there's a fair handful of administrators out there that will let you roll your money over, that they will not do checkbook control at all. You do what's called a buy-sell order or a buy-sell directive. I found a nice property out there, and it's got great cash flow. I'm going to take all the money I need out of my 401k, self-directed 401k, self-directed IRA, and I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to pay the property manager, and it's going to pay rents back into my 401k. In order to get that money, I have to send the buy-sell directive to the administrator, and when they close, it's going to be in the name of my account, the account number under the direction of XYZ trustee. Okay? A little different way to do it. One of the ways that we got set up recently, when I say recently, I think it was back in 2008. Our 401k account that the family has is, they have one investment, and it's an LLC, and that LLC has a business account. I could not believe how long it took me to get this checking account set up at the bank, because the bank people couldn't get their heads wrapped around that the business was owned by a self-directed IRA. It was just a straight-up business account. I spent 3 hours in the bank trying to hammer this through, and eventually it was like, oh, it's just a business checking. Yes, it's just a business checking account. Now, we have to be very careful when we're doing business. When we go and we're on projects, we can't swing a hammer. We can't put our own money in, because that would be like a backdoor contribution, right? We can't self-deal. I can't write a contract in the name of this 401k for a piece of property and then pass it to myself. They have to be arm's length transaction. It has to be non-prohibited individuals. So this has kind of wandered far and wide, but that's, I think, one of the most important things to understand about 401ks is, other than S-corps, other than antiques, other than collectibles, I believe alcohol is on there as well, but there's just a very few things that you cannot invest in with your 401k. Now, you want to do precious metals? Sure, we can do that. The trick is to have an administrator that will be custodian for you in that case. That is the most important thing. There are quite a few of them out there. I'm not going to mention names right now. You send me an email, we can talk about the ones I know. You can dig up a few more. If you've known some good ones, I'd like to hear about your experiences. Okay? But you cannot buy precious metals and you keep physical control of them. The IRS code for the 401k, also the self-directed IRAs, have that in the code that it needs to be under a qualified administrator, which is much like the qualified account holder. They just go another step forward, another step further, and they have those controls for security and auditing and accountability as far as keeping control of that precious metals. Can you imagine? It was in 1994 when we first got the opportunity, 94, 96, somewhere in there in the Clinton administration. I was probably still in high school. that we got the opportunity to convert to Roth. Another discussion about what that did for our tax base and our deficit. You convert a Roth IRA and you start holding silver. My God, there was a time in there that silver wasn't $2 or $3 an ounce. What would have happened if you would have held that until it was almost 50 and then cashed out? Tax-free, ladies and gentlemen. That's the power of a Roth IRA. I'm Owen Welling. We are Investor Resource Solutions, and we do coaching for self-directed IRA, 401k conversions, as well as coaching on asset acquisition and maintenance. So have a great day.